Welcome back, radio entrepreneurs, listeners, and fans. I'm producer Jillian King, and I'm excited to introduce you all to the third and final part of the Spring 2026 FBA Family Business Panel Discussion, Perspectives on What Family Businesses Need Today to Survive. Next, I will introduce our panelists and the moderator for this discussion. We are joined today by panelists Stewart Karger, Administrator of Belmont Manor, Stephen Wilchins, Founding Partner at Wilchins, Cosentino, and Novins, and Richard Hirschen, Partner at Gregory & Gray. And finally, Radio Entrepreneurs Founder and CEO of Mage LLC, Jeffrey Davis. Welcome, Jeffrey. I will now hand the conversation over to you.
Thank you, Jillian, and thank you for the hundreds of tasks and radio shows that you have posted and supervised over the years for radio entrepreneurs. Thank you to Rich Hirschen, for those who don't know, an original member of the Family Business Association, original person who has been involved for now probably over 12 years of supporting family businesses and even longer in his own firm. Yeah, longer in your own firm. Steve Wilchins too. So we all have a lot of family business experience. Stewart, again, what you've shared so far, they're just the everyday rumblings in the head of all entrepreneurs and family businesses. These are the issues they grope with. So your discussion and frankness has really been quite helpful for us. But, I know you're very thoughtful. And as you sit and think about the business, are there things that you wish you had not done now that you look back? Are there things that you wish that you did do? And I ask you that question. I don't know if that's too open-ended, but I know you're very thoughtful, and I think that that's good potentially for other family business entrepreneurs.
I can't necessarily pinpoint anything. I had from a very young age, a real projection of what I thought I wanted this business to be when I took from my father, making it the premier nursing facility, make the reputation, making the aesthetics, making when people walked in, they felt they were walking into more of a hotel setting than necessarily healthcare. So I have done a lot of that, and I got a lot of satisfaction out of that because I love, originally I was going to be an architect. So I love the building and the designing of that. Do I regret anything? I think that my management style is that I don't necessarily love a lot of confrontation. So maybe over some of the years, I put up with things that maybe I shouldn't have, or let some things go longer than they should have. I always found that when we would have discussions about a potential employee that wasn't doing their job, or maybe they weren't cutting it and we were going to give them a chance, it always came back to bite us. A workers' comp case, the person fell, something. It's almost like you need to go with your gut. And I hate the expression, no deed goes unpunished, but it's kind of like that. So I don't have a lot of regrets. And I don't know what I've done. I think that I've done a fairly good job, and I've learned a lot because, basically, my father taught me a lot in the 6 years I worked for him. But because of his health, in May of 1985, with one child and one child on the way, he went from one day of being my dad the way he was to the next day of not. So I didn't have him in the same capacity. He lived a long time afterwards. But at 28 years old, I completely took the business over without that support of him. And so I was forced to teach myself a lot. So I don't have regrets. I should say, I would have loved to have a family member in the business that was at the same level as I was. So I could bounce off somebody that understood being an entrepreneur, understood that. And I didn't have that. I was kind of, I sought professional for that rather than a family person.
Was that an option to have another family member at your?
My sister was working here.
Okay.
But she was very precise in what she wanted to do in her role, and she did it very well, but didn't really veer beyond that. And at that point, there was no one else in the family. Obviously in those days, my kids were very young.
What kind of exposure does your grandchildren have of the business?
Well, it's funny you say that. My 13-year-old loves to come here. My 13-year-old has built a relationship with one of the residents. And the way that she did that is when she was doing her mitzvah project for her bat mitzvah, she came here and visited. And she always talks about this one resident. And several times she's come and brought her coffee or bring her a donut or something like that and visit her. And she tells me that I should not give, this is her perspective, she's 13. I should not give Belmont Manor to mom. I should give it to her because she's going to work here.
Good.
And I said to her, Maddie, I don't know if I can wait another 10, she's 13, 10 plus years until you finish school.
Kids today grow up fast.
Yeah.
That's a really nice story.
Yeah.
So I guess we should build the platform for your son to help and be a trustee in the interim management team to sort of prepare for the next generation, which companies like Ford and Johnson & Johnson, they do that as family businesses, big corporations. They create pathways for multiple generations. That's very interesting. And it's a sweet story.
Mhm.
And I know you're very close with your grandchildren. That's one of the nicest things I've heard you ever say to me. That's great.
So, Stewart, how do you encourage your granddaughter to be more engaged, to be around the Belmont Manor without putting her to work?
It's just, either she encourages, if it's a day off in school or after school, sometimes just coming and visiting. And she loves just going off on her own and visiting people. My younger one, not so much. And when they came together one day, the older one wouldn't let the young one go because she wanted to be her thing and not the 10-year-olds. But I think that she encourages me sometimes to come. And I think it's wonderful to expose young people because a lot of young people of that age become frightened when you come to a nursing facility and you have a lot of older people together. It's not like seeing one or two. And especially when you see people with dementia and some behaviors, it can be very scary. And
I want to add at this point, both Rich and Stephen are familiar with this company, and they say, always prepare for out of the mouths of babes, the expression. And I know a company that they know where the daughter wrote a term paper or a paper at 7 years old saying that she wanted to run her father's business, which is a mammoth company. And today that person is the number 2 person to run that company, a very large company. And that father says to me, I made that person a promise when they were 7 years old that if that's what they wanted, that's what we were going to do. And to this day, that person says to me, the owner, I made that promise to my child, and that's my promise. And the developmental plan has been there for a long time, and they prepared for it. So if she's showing an interest, I think it becomes part of the whole process. I know Steve's nodding, and those things do happen. They really do happen. It's not an unusual thing. So
Stewart, you have a great relationship with your daughter, with your grandchild. And so you got to think through what are ways that you can encourage her to get more involved with getting to know you and Belmont Manor. Because it doesn't have to be the kids, it could be the grandchildren at some point.
well, the funny thing you say that, she's in school now and I get pop-ups. She's emailing me.
well, that's not unusual too, Stewart. I mean, you gotta read the tea leaves. Very good. That all becomes part of the complicated equation for you to sort of prepare since you're still intellectually vibrant.
I actually see, based on their, personal, their life, and what's going on in their life, I think that being more involved here on a more regular basis would be very good for her. A really good outlet.
Right. And you could bring her to work and you could meet with her weekly, monthly, and go over things that could be as Stephen says, you have an exceptional with your whole family. You have an exceptionally close relationship with your whole family. So I think that this only enhances what's already going on naturally.
Right, well,
Rich, I'm sure you've seen this as well, right? Children who've shown from the earliest age.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask if you were giving your 13-year-old granddaughter advice on like when she's going to college, what to major in or what experience to get, what would it be?
Good question.
I really have to ask to see what at that point she really was her passion and what she liked. Obviously, at 13, I am so happy that she can connect with some of the older people here and and be compassionate. Whether that's going to be a passion of hers to work in an environment like this, I don't know, but we can clearly nurture it as time goes on. You know, for my both of my grandchildren, I am, a pseudo father because of circumstances to them, and they rely on me a lot to guide them.
You're very lucky to be in Boston because, again, being involved, the three of us in the Family Business Association, we see a lot of families that, Boston has seven, arguably maybe the 10 best business schools in North America in the city of Boston. So channeling children and grandchildren through programs that they want to do into Boston, doing internships in businesses is somewhat easier in Boston than other cities. So, let's talk a little bit more about you and your, life as you're maturing. We're all relatively the same generation, the four of us. Rich is our youngest person here, and but I know Rich and Stephen and we all work actively to this date, but we all have a lot of extracurricular activities that we do. And I'm wondering, what do you do for Stewart Karger? And what are you looking at? And I know you're smiling already.
Well, you know the answer to the question, so yeah, it's self-loaded. I don't do much. I am very selfless and do for everyone around me. And I find that work takes up most of my energy and my strength. And, because of personal situations, I have other responsibilities besides. But my wife and I do try to, travel a little bit. We do try to get to Florida on, several times during the winter. We've been there a couple of times this winter. I'm going again. We'll probably go in April. But I find my downtime on weekends or in evenings basically is just a time to regenerate from working and being tired. I do feel the stress of being a little bit older and more tired than I did 10 years ago.
That's why you need an interest to energize you a little.
And it's kind of funny. I'm going to go back to an earlier segment. Would you ever consider taking, as you get older, let's say architectural classes and pursue some natural interests that you had as a younger person? And those you could also utilize at Belmont Manor as the potential to expand the hospital where the facility happens.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, part of me thinks about retirement and think about what would I do? And then a part of me thinks about retirement and maybe that would afford me to be able to do other things. I've never been one that wanted to play golf or tennis or pickleball.
I think he just picked on the three of us.
Yeah. I've always been kind of content, working and having a family life and the time just goes.
But any entrepreneur, business owner needs a diversion. And family is very important, but you also need something for yourself.
Have you ever done anything just for yourself? Or are you with the selfless person that we've all seen here?
Ever?
Yeah. What did you ever have any, this is Stewart's thing?
It's funny. When I was younger, very young, in high school, and I took like an architecture class, I would come home and whatever I was designing, I would come home And I would go down into the boiler room in the basement of the house. My father had a workbench, and I would build out of balsa wood and everything, whatever I was creating, the model of it. I haven't thought about that in a long time. And I could spend hours there just doing it. Like my wife's new thing is that she'll sit at our dining room table for hours and do Legos. Legos is like a back. So no, I don't. I mean, it's also because of timing. I get home from work 6:30. We either eat at home or we go out. And then what? And it's time to watch a little TV and go to sleep. And then it starts all over again. So there's not been a lot of time to do that. And yes, I know if I want to play golf every Wednesday afternoon, I could take the afternoon off and play golf.
But that's not your thing, golf.
But I know I could.
What shows are you presently watching?
I watch whatever she puts on. I'll tell you the movie. We watched a movie on Sunday. The movie about Gurion and with Russell Crowe and Rami Malek about the war and the trying of the criminals. Oh, I can't think of the name
Oh,
of it.
Nuremberg.
Yeah, it was wonderful.
I win 10 points.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So that, and I tend to watch stupid stuff. I'll watch HGTV. I'll watch some of those. So I'll watch some reality shows. And then I lay in bed and I get a look. Are you sleeping? Are you sleeping? No, I'm awake. I'm awake. She gets angry when I fall asleep.
I'm just trying to notify Jillian. I agree with you. People ask me all the time, do I watch the show Succession? I go, why would I watch Succession? I'm doing it all day long.
That's a good show.
I've heard it's a great show and maybe I should watch it, but I've seen a lot of stuff over the years. Stewart, I want to say before Jillian comes on, first of all, again, this is a very valuable format for 13 years, the Family Business Association, trying to educate other owners because, as you know, they can live in isolation in their family businesses and not really get perspective on things. So your sharing and your openness and your honesty is really quite helpful for others. And I know it's been helpful for us. I think even listening to you, and you've said you hadn't thought about certain things. So I want to thank you for coming on the show today. And I want to thank Steve Wilchins and his firm and Gray and their firm, who have been continuous sponsors of the Family Business Association, plus my firm, Mage, as well. We've all been steadfast in trying to help families continue their legacy. And that's really the goal today with you as well. So I want to thank you personally and on behalf of all of us.
Thank you.
Jillian?
All right. Thank you all for an outstanding conversation and for sharing your expertise with us today. That wraps up this final segment of our Spring 2026 FBA Family Business Panel discussion. Thank you to all our listeners and viewers who have tuned in for this panel. Be sure to check out parts 1 and 2 and click subscribe just below the video if you're on YouTube, or follow if you are listening on one of our podcast platforms to stay up to date on all our postings as they go live. If you're a fan of our videos, please be sure to like, comment, share, subscribe, and press the bell button. Radio Entrepreneurs is also active on LinkedIn, so be sure to follow our page there for more business advice and discussions. Until next time, goodbye and thanks for listening. We'll be back with more stories on Radio Entrepreneurs.